friends, welcome back to my channel and Happy New Year. My name is Rainy and my channel is Rainy Day Reads and Crafts. I have changed my channel name multiple times, but I have finally, I think, settled on just Rainy Day Reads like it's always been, but I'm putting in parentheses and crafts because it just wasn't working out. People couldn't remember it. I couldn't remember the new channel name. So we're just going back to the OG and keeping it there, and hopefully I will never try to change it again. So anyway, today we are going to talk about what I have been reading at the beginning of the year 2025. As I'm filming this, it is January 12th, 2025, and so it's been a little over a week, and I have gotten a lot of reading done. Uh, Shockingly. I have kind of been in sort of a reading slump in the past, probably most of the year of 2024. Was getting back into it sort of at the end of 2024, but then December, as is normal for a lot of people, was just too busy, and I kind of got back into a slump, but wasn't really a slump. I was just too busy. So December or January of this year, we're really going for it. And we're gonna try to get some reading done. I have finished one book already, and I am reading three others, two on audio and one on my Kindle. And the one that I just finished was on my Kindle as well. So I that's very exciting to me because one of my goals in 2025 is to read more with my eyeballs. And if I'm going to read books that I already own in book form, I want to read them the way I have them and not just go try to find an audiobook, unless it's just something that I'm just not really that interested in, but I own it and I want to at least try it. I might just try it on audiobook. But in general, I want to try to read books more with my eyeballs. In fact, in my reading journal, I'm going to have a tracker and try to get to 25 books physically read with my eyeballs in 2025. That's my one, like, tracking 2025 or 25 in 2025 kind of a goal. So anyway, the first book that I finished was on my Kindle through Everand, which we're going to discuss that later. I'm unhappy with Everand, and I feel like a lot of other people are too. But anyway, this book they haven't messed with, and it is called The Curate in Charge by Margaret Oliphant. And I read this via ebook, and it is a Victorian novel that is relatively short. I think it was about 270 odd pages, 276 pages, I think, on ebook. And I would describe this as a domestic drama, I guess, is like the genre I would put it in. I'm not really sure that is a genre, but it's what I'm going with, because I just couldn't pinpoint another genre to put it in. It was a very interesting read. I read this with my friend Joe, and it was we were both just very fascinated by the character and the characters and the character development the whole time. And it had a lot of Victorian tropes, but it also kind of didn't go quite in the direction that I would have thought it would have gone, which was both a good and a bad thing. So I ended up giving this novel 4 stars. It was almost a 5, but something just happened towards the end that I was like, I didn't know how I felt about it. So, but anyway, this story follows. It's a very complicated story, but it follows Mr. St. John, or St. John, depending on how you pronounce it. And he is a curate in a small English village. And a curate is kind of, I have gathered that it is kind of an entry level preacher job. where you kind of are responsible for doing a lot of the actual work and with not a lot of the accolades, I guess. So he was hired by a rector who was just kind of this rich, spoiled brat guy who didn't really want to do any work, but, got his job because he knew people, and was kind of, probably like a second son kind of a situation where he was just, uh, he just was supposed to go into the church, but he didn't really want to do anything with it. So the rector hires him to be his curate and goes off, and we never see him again until about midway through the book. We hear something about him that starts a lot of the drama that ensues. So, up until then, we get to know Mr. St. John and his two daughters, Cicely and Mab. I think Mab is just Mabel, but they call her Mab. And Cicely is slightly older, and they keep saying to her that she is very much like her mother, who has died when they were young. And Mab is an artist and would very much like to make her living as an artist. But of course, for a lady back then, which they were gentry, um, because the church people were gentry back then, was just, it wasn't the thing. You just didn't do it. Even though they were poor, they were still considered ladies. But Mr. St. John had been the curate for like 20 years, they kept saying. And that's apparently unheard of. Like, if you're a curate, you eventually try to make yourself the rector. You, like, put yourself out there and you try to promote yourself. But Mr. St. John was not that way. He always kept saying he never asked for anything. Well, that was very apparent because he was a very ineffectual man. He did a lot for people, and a lot of people liked him, but um, he was kind of like humble and giving to a fault. Like, he didn't help himself. He didn't help his family, and that really, really affected the lives of his daughters going forward in the book. So the main thing is that the rector eventually is gone, and Mr. St. John is going to be replaced. And he is replaced by a man named Mr. Mildmay, who is a younger man. And Mr. Mildmay is kind of he's a nice guy. He means well. He knows he needs a job, but he doesn't really need a job because, again, he's a rich guy. But he wants to do things. He needs work. He wants work. So he's a good guy. He gets to know Mr. St. John and his daughters, and he really wants to help them. And he's a decent dude. But just things snowball, and things occur, and I'm not going to spoil it, but this book was just a very interesting look into the, like, just character growth, the way the daughters kind of have to step up and realize that while their lives are going to really change, their father's not going to do anything to help them with this change. They need to figure something out, even if it's not what society tells them they should do. They're going to do it. And then Mr. Mildmay, he has a lot of character growth throughout the book. And Mr. St. John, oh boy, he was a frustrating character the whole time. Just never wanted to make a decision, never wanted to make anybody feel bad, never wanted to make himself feel bad. Yeah, he was just very frustrating. So, without spoiling anything too much, I wouldn't say that this book was a romance in any way. It was just purely domestic drama, which was kind of refreshing. I thought it had some really good, I guess it would be called proto-feminist tones to it with the things that the girls had to um, figure out for themselves. Yeah, and it was very good. And I was highly impressed with the writing style, the characterization, um, the ending. I had a very strong reaction to. So it was all good. Joe and I really enjoyed it. There were some things that I would have done differently, but overall, I think it was a good time. And that actually prompted me to make a fancy book journal spread out of it. I'll pop a picture of it here. I'll try to remember to pop the picture of the blurred out review so that you don't get spoiled. But I did this based off of my inspiration was Cyan from Perceived Grace on Instagram and YouTube, and I will link her below if you want some fantastic book journal eye candy. Cyan is the one that you want to watch. She is wow. So I have been watching her and getting tips from her. And I finally made a book journal spread and I love it. Oh, let me get it for you. I used this book journal from Notebook Therapy, and it's a pre-printed book journal, but in the back it has some notes pages that I am using for, like, I put Chantel from Chantel Reads All Day. I put her Read Your Bookshelf Challenge prompts in the back. And then, where did I put my book journal page? And then here, I'll put my hand over this, but here's the book journal page that I made for that one. So the way Cyan usually does it is she only does her 5-star reads. And I am not going, well, obviously that was not a 5-star read, that book. It was like more like a 4-star in the end. But I wanted to do that one because it was my first book that I'd finished in the year. So, but I'm going to maybe try to leave it for just like books that really made a good impression or some kind of impression on me in the end. So yeah, that was the book that I finished this week. And geez, I talk a lot. We're already 13 minutes in. The next book that I'm currently reading and hoping to finish today, maybe, is Falling for Your Fake Boyfriend. And this is by my favorite cozy mystery author, London Lovett. And she is starting a sweet romance series called The Whisper Cove romance series. And sweet romance just means there's no spice. Let's be real. When anything is romance, you're going to have a little bit of like spice in the way that people react to each other, right? But you're not having any you're not having sexy times, okay? There's no sexy times. And so she reached out to me and some others to be on the ARC team for the Whisper Cove series. It's going to be a 5-book series. And Falling for Your Fake Boyfriend comes out on Monday, January 13th, which is, depending on when I get this video out, is either tomorrow or today. So, yeah, I will try to come back and leave the link, the Amazon link, to the actual book on Amazon when it comes out. But I will also leave the link to London's website, where I assume that you can also order the book. I read this via ebook, and I'm still reading it, but I'm pretty close to the end. So I feel like I can reasonably tell you my review. I do not read a lot of contemporary romance, but when I do, I like it to be sweet and clean, which a lot of people have a problem with. I don't really have a problem with that term, but I don't like spice in my romances, and I often feel like they're cheesy, but I really felt like this one was a good. It was light on the cheese. So I really enjoyed this one. This book follows Luke and Isla, And Isla is a one of 5 sisters who live in their grandma's cottage by the shore, and they all have differing jobs. But Isla's dream is to open a bakery on uh, in Whisper Cove where they live, but she doesn't have a lot of money, so she works many jobs, and one of them is in an office building where Luke works. And Luke is a billionaire. He is the oldest son of a shipping tycoon, but he has left that life sort of to open up his own company. And so that's where we are now. But Luke lives in a very traditional, well, not traditional, but very like stuffy and world where you marry money. You don't marry for love, you marry for money, kind of a thing. And his mother is always trying to set him up, and he decides that he has to go to his sister's wedding, and he would like to bring a date so that he doesn't have to endure his mother's matchmaking skills. And he wants this date to look like a very serious girlfriend. So he picks Isla, and he offers her money towards her towards her bakery to pretend to be his serious girlfriend for the weekend with his super fancy family. So as you can imagine, antics ensue. There's all kinds of prejudice. There's horrible mothers, and mistaken perceptions of people and all kinds of things. But it's really cute. I really enjoyed the relationship between Isla and Luke. It just seemed to flow. It was very natural. I didn't really feel too many cheesy parts. Like there were a few, but let's be real. Any kind of romance has some cheese to it, you know. And yeah, it was just very sweet. There was some tense things that she had to go through that I had like secondhand embarrassment for her. But overall, it was just really sweet, and I would highly recommend anything that London Lovett writes. And seems like romance is also going to be a thing that I will enjoy from her, and I especially like that it's sweet. Now we'll just talk briefly about the things that I am currently reading that I'm not very far into. I am rereading Return of the King by J.R.R. Tolkien with some friends, and that's been great. I'm listening to the Andy Serkis narration on Everand. Probably won't ever be able to get that again. So I'm enjoying that while I still have it. And then I am also reading Murder by Invitation Only by Colleen Cambridge. It is part of the Phyllida Bright mystery series. I believe it is the 3rd one. And I'm reading this with my friend Ellie from My Cozy Chronicles. And yeah, we are just, so far, we are very much enjoying it. We are coming up with all kinds of theories. Phyllida Bright is supposed to be the housemaid. Is that what she's called? The housekeeper for Agatha Christie. So we have that tie-in. So it's in that era. And she works at the, I think, fictitious Malouin Hall. So this is where Agatha Christie supposedly lived with her second husband, Max Mallowan. And Phyllida gets herself into all kinds of murder investigations. And she has a past herself that we are starting to get more into with this book. So, but we still haven't figured out what her past really is, but I'm hoping we do shortly. But in this one, she is invited to a murder mystery party. Or actually, Agatha Christie is, but Agatha is away and decides to send Phyllida because these people are new in the neighborhood and she just wants to have like a goodwill gesture. But as it turns out, the murder mystery party turns into an actual murder. Of course, shock. And Phillida, being there, has decided that she is going to help solve the mystery. And it's mostly the guests who are being suspected. And yeah, it's just all them trying to figure out the motive and who did what and to whom and blah blah blah. So it's just really interesting and it's cute and I love listening to it on audio. The narrator for that is really good. If I remember, I'll put who the narrator is down here because I never remember to do that. And narrators should get accolades too when they're good. So, but yeah, so that was kind of a long video for 4 books, but yeah, I hope that was all I read this in the past 12 days. But I think we're on a good track for the rest of the year. Hopefully, if I can kind of keep up 4 to 5 books a month, maybe 1 or 2 physically, then I think I will feel good about that. My Goodreads goal is 75 books, which might be a little bit of a stretch if I'm reading a lot physically, but we'll see how it goes. That's my Goodreads goal. But I also am trying to use the Storygraph more. So I'm kind of still learning the whole thing. I signed up for it a long time ago, put a few random books on there, and then promptly forgot about it. So I'm going to try to use it more this year, at least for the stats part of it. Um, and yeah, and then I'm going to try to keep up with my physical book journal and put at least a few more fancy perceived grace style uh, review spreads in here, as well as just keeping up with the pages in here. This journal has like a book bracket and like favorite books of the month and all that stuff. So I'm hoping to keep up with it. We'll see. Hopefully, I do. But yeah, and I talked about Return of the King, but I wanted to show you my friend Katie bought me this big bind up of all 3. The Hobbit is not in here, but Lord of the Rings, or Fellowship of the Rings, Two Towers, and Return of the King is in here. So obviously, I'm not reading out of this since I'm listening to the Andy Serkis narration, but this will look lovely on my shelf. And I was finally able to get rid of the trade paperback movie tie-in editions that I had from way back in college that were all falling apart. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. So, all right, friends, this video has been long enough, so I'm going to go. But I hope you are having a good start to your reading year. If you're still here, tell me in the comments, what have you been reading? Have you finished anything yet this year? Do you have any good recommendations yet for things that like maybe I would like to read? Yeah, just tell me all the things. All right, friends, I hope you are having a good January, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.